Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio today. You know, this is a real treat for me because my guest is someone, you know, when you've heard, I think it's the Army, then they talk about I've done, you know, more before 9 a.m. than most people, you know, do in their day. I think this guy has done more stuff than a lot of people have done in their lifetime. And he takes that experience and he uses it for the benefit of others. Today, my guest is none other than Mike Gillette. And I have to tell you, if you read his life story, and we're going to get him to dig into a little bit of it, it reads like an action adventure novel. This, you know, you couldn't ask for a better case study for goal attainment than what Mike has lived through. You know, he was poor, scared, scrawny kid, grew up in the midst of a backdrop of extreme violence, substance abuse. Almost sounds like I'm watching Lifetime documentary TV. So, you know, this is a kid who would ultimately become an Army paratrooper, SWAT commander, government counter-terrorism consultant, bodyguard to Fortune 500 CEOs, and a record-breaking strongman. And when I say record-breaking, I mean records have been documented by Guinness World Records and Ripley's Believe It or Not. And if you are someone that is, you know, looking for a coach, looking for someone that is going to be there to guide you to get over obstacles, I don't think I could have a better guest that has seen more than what Mike has seen. And not only is he a practitioner and a purveyor of peak performance, you've heard the term peak performance. Mike is a pioneer in peak performance. And right now, at over 50 years of age, he continues to transcend his own personal limits while teaching others how to do the same thing. With that, I would like to welcome Mike Gillette to Influencers Radio. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jack. Wow, thanks for that. That was very nice.
Well, I got to say that, and you know, I could have gone on for 10 more minutes. It's just really remarkable. It's almost like, you know, I think when I watch you know, these movies, Forrest Gump, you know, and all the situations they've been in. I thought, how does any people get into this?
Wait a minute, where's the Forrest Gump reference going?
Well, no, yeah. Well, who finds themselves in this many situations? I mean, you've done some really extreme things that you know most people, you know, might be once in a lifetime thing, but you know you seem to have gone through a succession of these, what a lot of people would think were, you know, probably pretty scary experiences, but have proven to be very powerful experiences for you. So let's start with the fact that, you know, peak performance, you're a pioneer in peak performance. And so let's kind of describe what a peak performance coach is, particularly what you do, because it may be a little bit different than what most people think of when they think of a coach. You actually help people that are good at what they do, but see potential. They see much bigger potential, but just can't seem to figure out how to hit that. So kind of describe that person that you work with, the types of clients that you work with, and really that obstacle that they're hitting.
Okay. Well, the first thing that you mentioned is the term peak performance. And so that we're all clear on what that means when I use the term, peak performance is basically operating at one's optimal level of potential. And getting to that point in a deliberate and systematic way. We've all had moments in our lives where everything just seemed to go very well. We're in what psychologists often refer to as that flow state, where you almost can't make a mistake even if you wanted to. But how does a person get to that point? How does a person reliably re-enter that state? How do they integrate that state in whatever it is that they do? Are they an engineer? Are they a musician? Are they a competitive gardener? And it's a process by which I take a lot of the methods that I've been introduced to, which are sort of unique to me, not in that I've invented them, Jack, but because I've been exposed to so many different things with all of the different things that I've done professionally in my life, I've been able to sort of extract what seems to work well and combine that in a way that is understandable and essentially doable for regular people. When I say regular people, I mean people that don't necessarily do crazy things like myself, although I'm happy to take people to that point. So when we're talking about people who are helped by those types of methods, we're really talking about people that are doing things, going places in their professional lives. So if a person is cooking along in their career, but they're trying to get to that next level, well, one of the things that I help with is helping them figure out what is that next level. What does the next level represent? Why do they want to get there? What do they think it is? And then once we sort of flesh those things out, we devise a plan to get to that point. A lot of the things I've done in these disparate areas are really the result of being good at planning and good at execution. And when most people have a roadmap, we find that they do a lot better in terms of getting the outcomes that they desire.
Well, what really struck me, and I think that seemed to kind of provide me with that clarity on just how powerful, what you've been able to do and what you help other people achieve is the fact that, most people, especially successful people, whether I'm talking about success in relationships and health and in business, they've found themselves at times being in what most people know as the zone, and I think that's what you're talking about, where you've been, humming along in that flow, the zone, and people know that zone exists, but oftentimes when they're out of that zone, people don't know how to get back into that zone or don't know how to achieve that zone. And with you, from, a paratrooper, SWAT commander, counter-terrorism, you've had to be able to put yourself in the zone almost at will. And it really is a mindset thing, a mind shift. Would that be kind of how you would characterize it, as being able to put yourself in that right state of mind when it's needed?
Jack, you are right on it. Mindset is everything. And one of the challenges with working with anyone, really, regardless of what area they're interested in working on, is the notion that we can control the function of our mind. We can control our thoughts. We can take deliberate control of our thoughts. And when we can start doing that, then we start having a significant influence on our own emotions, our own emotional responses to situations. And ultimately, this allows us to get out of our own way and put that laser beam exactly on the target that we want and work very methodically and efficiently towards it.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I see that really stood out to me as being a little bit different than what a lot of people think about as far as coaching. When people want to hire a coach, a lot of times their mindset, the way they think, is I need to hire someone to be accountable for my results, to my actions, right? They feel that I'm not capable of being accountable. And you see things, I think, when you watch shows like The Biggest Loser, that's essentially what they're doing, is they're surrendering their accountability to someone else to whip them into shape and to be there and ride them 10, 16 hours a day to make certain that they achieve whatever goals that they set out to do. But obviously that's not sustainable.
I quite agree, Jack. What people get confused on is really the role of a coach. And I think a lot of people are not actually looking for a coach. They're looking for a boss. And what a boss does is a boss will impose external standards upon a client. And the problem there is the client can be cajoled, harassed into compliance for a period of time. But those changes ultimately don't belong to the client because they had to be harassed into the client. They don't own that. Therefore, they don't own their outcome. Where the difference is a coach basically facilitates. A coach provides a framework, a process, and it is up to the client to take accountability for their own dreams, their own goals, because they belong to them, and to do the work. The coach is there to provide the roadmap, to provide a process. And if the process isn't working, to adjust course and, continue to refine the route from here to there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. And I guess the way that I am able to relate to this is in the business world with entrepreneurs. The difference between an entrepreneur and a person that's employed by a business. There's people that are successful. I mean, directors of this, chief, executives of this, but they're still ultimately have someone there telling them what to do, where to do it, what needs to be done, and providing that framework of, they have a boss, essentially, just like you said, they have a boss, and their consequences of not doing that are, well, I'm going to be unemployed. And then when I see people that are entrepreneurs, they're at a completely different place. They wake up every morning unemployed. And it's up to them to kind of be their own boss and set their own responsibilities and set that, those benchmarks. And to me, that's what you seem to be able to do with people, is to give them the tools and the power and the ability to be able to set their own benchmarks and to do the things that are necessary for them to get themselves to reach those benchmarks without having someone else taking over the accountability. Would that be the right way to characterize that?
I think that's a great way to characterize it, Jack. I look at it in terms of, what is it that a person wants that even if no one is around talking to them about it, they're still going to want that thing. Everyone knows what is expected of them. Whether it's from, friends, family members, the workplace, just the norms of culture. We all know what those things are, but those aren't the things that, really drive us hard inside. The things that are personally important, those are the things that I'm well suited to help people find. And it's a combination of having some fairly novel methodologies in which to pursue those things. And also people will look at me in terms of being someone who has overcome a lot of difficulties along the way in accomplishing the things that I've done. So there's a comfort there in terms of, well, if Mike can have done, X, Y, Z, particularly at his mature age, then certainly I should be able to do it too. And that's what we work towards. An interesting thing about bosses, when I first started getting involved with coaching, it was really sort of an extension of what I did in the military and in law enforcement. I was coaching, if you will, those types of people as a part of my job back when I was in law enforcement, and then when I was full-time as a tactical trainer. I was basically taking people who were already good at doing things and making them better. And one of the key pieces to that, and the definition for Mike Gillette's peak performance may differ somewhat from other people's, is that there's a tremendous integration of the mind with the body. Now, that is not to say that everybody I work with, is an athlete, becomes an athlete. That's, entirely their interests that dictate that. But I deal with the body as well as the mind, and I have exercises that sort of unify the functionality of both of those things, because I look at them as one and the same. The body is the mind is the body. That is how I do the things I do, and that's kind of a philosophy that I carry over into what I do as a coach. Anyway, in 2007, I was getting more into what I would call the private sector as far as coaching. And I was working with a group of athletes on a television show. It was called Fight Girls. It was a competition reality show. And they all lived in a house in Vegas, and there was an eliminations, just typical reality show framework. And I was working primarily as a nutritionist for these athletes. And these were all experienced kickboxers, and they were all gunning for an opportunity to go to Thailand and fight over there, which is the motherland of international kickboxing. A lot of these women, very smart, they were, college students or college graduates. They knew about health and nutrition. And they would tell me something, Jack, that I always found very sort of confounding. They would say, Mike, tell me what to eat. And I would say, well, you're an experienced athlete. You've studied this sort of thing. You know what to eat. And they would say, I know what to eat. I want you to tell me.
That's remarkable, and, even at that level.
Yeah, they were aware that they were asking for that, but they were still asking for that. It was a very curious dynamic. And it kind of gets back to some people either think they want a boss, or they're going to respond more to a boss type of approach, and other people respond better to a mentor, a coach. And that's sort of the bandwidth that I try to occupy.
Well, I can tell you, from what I've seen and the results that I've seen from the people that you work with, speaks volumes to the method. And I think this accountability thing is probably one of the most pivotal pieces, because you've said something that really struck me and made me realize how pivotal this is that, ultimately they're accountable to themselves, and you are really there to guide them along their path, whatever that is, like you said. And once that they understand that they're responsible for their own outcome, that they take that accountability, they're not looking to you, just like you said with the example you just gave. They knew what to eat, but they wanted you to tell them. Once they accept that and they change that mindset, what struck me that you said is once they get that, things can start getting amazing. And that right there, just, it almost, kind of sent chills, because I realized it hit me so hard that this is the moment. A lot of people wonder, what's that secret piece? What's that moment that things start to change? And I think that you define that so perfectly, that accountability piece. Once they get that, that's when the real work begins, and that's where the real transformation begins. So what I want to know is when they get that, what do you see as being the biggest obstacles to, one, them getting that, or two, to them actually reaching the real achievable potential that they have in them? That, what is it that you see stopping them outside of the accountability?
Excellent question. I like that. There's a couple pieces that tend to fall into place at the point that somebody gets it, so to speak. We'll use that phrase because I like it. And the first one is, everybody has a dream. And we all know that lots and lots of people don't pursue those dreams. One of the things that I do, and this is not unique to me, I think, any coach does the first thing. It's the thing that comes afterwards that's really pivotal. The first thing that has to happen for most of these people is to become okay with pursuing their dream. And that usually comes when the coach has already sort of helped drill down on, what do you want? How would you want it to be? What does it mean to you? Why does it matter? After we've gone through those types of questions and we're really clear on what the client wants, then the coach can say, you know what? You can have this. Not only can you have it, you should have it. It's fine. And they sort of grant that permission. Not that it was ever required, but a lot of people sort of act as though they need it. We're looking to some external validation of what we want because we think it's either frivolous or it's selfish or it's whatever it is, or it's scary. And that's what any coach can prospectively offer a client. The difference is, at least for me, is after we establish that yes, they can have it, it's possible, and if they want it, it's worthwhile. Then we get to the second piece, and the second piece is simply that: do you want this? Are you willing to do what it takes? Will you go at this hard until you get it? They have to answer that question. They have to realize that it is up to them. They'll work hard. The work will be targeted. The work will get them there, but it's them. It's not the magic wand. It's not the boss, yelling them into compliance. It's them being accountable for what they want. And if they get that, this is mine, and once I get there, it will belong to me and it will be important. That's when things do get amazing. But they have to be at that point. They have to be ready to hear that message, and they have to be ready to act on that message.
Yeah, when you say ready, I want to make sure that we put a spotlight on this, because I think that you've identified something that you don't hear talked about much, and I think it's probably a big reason that people get on this path to, I guess, failure, for lack of a better word. And that's what a lot of people are afraid of. They're afraid of failing. Sometimes that fear of failure will keep them from even attempting it. And one of the things that, like I said, that you've identified that I thought was extremely telling is that, my perception is that a half-hearted attempt, and that's why when you say that you have to be ready and you really, get to the core of that, is that it seems that you believe that a half-hearted attempt is actually could be more damaging than no attempt at all, because of it beginning that pattern of failure that they keep replaying.
That's absolutely correct. Many people will try things, and there's a word there that I don't even like, because the word try implies failure. But they will have attempted things, and even if you had good intentions, if the route that you were taking to your objective wasn't a good one, your attempt is likely going to have resulted in failure. If you've tried a couple times and failed all of those times, you ultimately were reinforcing the notion that, well, this is just impossible. I can't get that. That's for other people. It's not for me.
Exactly. I think that's what so many people have faced. So I don't think there's a person that is, hearing this that has not faced that, they try to lose weight and they can't. Well, I guess I'm just at my fighting weight. This is what I'm supposed to be, or here I go again. And
right. We start rationalizing where we're stuck at.
And I think that's one of the things that's not an insurmountable challenge. I mean, you seem to warn people, don't give it a half-hearted attempt, because you're actually creating a damaging pattern there. But a lot of people have already been down that road. They've done the half-hearted attempts. They've started that pattern. They've started replaying that tape. And a lot of people get to the point where they feel that this is just who I am. This is these are the cards that life has dealt me, and this is what I have to live with. But you say no, and you've proven no, that change is actually possible even after this repeated pattern. Do you see that as being a misconception or something that people have just ingrained in their head that this is just who I am and it's not something that can be changed?
Very much. It's and it can be linked to a number of things. The unsuccessful previous attempts sort of reinforcing a sense of inevitability. It can also come from even people in their social circle. Hey, and I hate to constantly use weight loss, but everybody brings that up as a topic and everyone understands it, and it's got a visual element to it, so it's easy to visualize. So I'm going with that. And if you tell someone, hey, I'm gonna go on a diet, what's the first thing that most people say? You look fine the way you are, or don't get carried away. Be careful. All of these modifier comments, all of these comments that basically try to keep the other people in their circle from doing anything resulting in change because it's going to make them feel bad because they're not doing anything or they don't want to do anything. So there's a lot of places where all of that can come from. Our job as coaches is to find those places, break them down and confront people with the reality. And it can be a scary reality. No, you actually can have this. Really? Yeah, you can. But you've got to want it, because if you don't really want it, really, really want it, you won't do what's necessary, because what has worked for you in the past has been none of this. So there's so much about, fear of change. And I think a lot of fear of success is simply the fear of potential change. Change is scary to anybody because we don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what it's going to look like. We just know it's going to be different. And maybe we're not ready for different. But to get someone to accept, and embrace the unknown and embrace a complete immersion into the solution to whatever their situation is, their state is, scary, but that's what it takes. And for me, I do intense things. I'm kind of an intense guy. I have a good way to speak to people about that type of approach to life, that type of approach to accomplishing goals. And the things that I do are sort of metaphors, for that type of approach. Because when you do the kinds of things that I do, you cannot hold anything back. There are no half-hearted attempts at breaking stacks of bricks with your body. There's no half-hearted attempt at bending steel bars or horseshoes or anything like that. When you're messing with fire and electricity, you've got to be mentally committed. You have to be in the moment. And being in the moment and knowing that you have surrendered yourself completely to change, that's when change happens. But it's also scary, and it's scary because if it doesn't quite work out the way you hoped, there's that. Then you're left with that. And I think some people are afraid of throwing themselves at something so hard that there's no excuse, and they still may not get it. And that's where a lot of high achievers live, because the more and more that you do, there's a lot of talented musicians out there, but not everybody's trying to win college scholarships. So there's a lot of scholarship musicians out there that are trying to compete in international music competitions. The higher and higher we go, the more you have to throw yourself into that thing. And, the greater reward, but potentially the greater sense of failure depending on how somebody's wired. Now, if what you do is pursue excellence, you can never fail. But if you pursue mileposts or what other people use as markers of your success, you're always going to be unsatisfied.
That's one of the things that I love about your style and your strategy, and it's about. We live in a society where easy buttons, magic pills, lose weight, is available at every turn. And easy answers sell solutions. Easy answers sell products. They sell coaching. They sell services. They sell everything that obviously don't fulfill and often leave people in a much worse spot than they began with. But one of the things I really love about what you do is you don't mince words. You tell people that it takes effort. It takes commitment to do this. When so many people say, "Oh, I need to quit smoking. I'll go to the hypnotist. He'll zap me and I'll be all better." Or I need to lose weight. "Oh, I just need to, eat this, prepackaged food and take this pill and boom, it's gone." And you offer none of that. You offer what I consider real answers, real solutions, to this. And, do you have people that come to you looking for, here, just do what you do and make me successful, make me happy, make me,
absolutely. Yeah. There's a certain visibility associated with some of the things I do. And because people don't have an answer for it, how does a guy who didn't even start pursuing feats of strength until he was 46. I'm going to be 53 in a couple of weeks. How does somebody who does the things that I do, well, they can't come up with an answer. So it's got to be magic, right? It's got to be some kind of thing, and maybe, he can show me what that thing is, and it'll apply to my life. And what the thing is simply wanting to do something badly enough that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do that thing. A lot of the things that I do are physically uncomfortable. They're mentally fatiguing because that as soon as you start doing them, it's going to hurt. So there's a tremendous reality with the things that I do, and there sometimes, ironically, is a sense of unreality about how it is that I do it. But there's no magic to it. It's just doing it. And that's what I bring to my clients. We're going to just do this. I have a way for you to do it, but we're going to just do it. And that's completely different from, the sort of marketing approach of magic pills and easy answers, which are, I agree, it's a far more attractive option, but it's not an option because it doesn't work.
Well, I'll tell you, I think I would qualify the magic that you do have a magic. And I think your magic is helping someone transform into the type of person that does what needs to be done to make it happen. And I think that's a magic all in itself. And I think much more powerful and long lasting than any type of, magic pill or hypnotist session. I've got to know, what is it that led you to do what you do? What led you to take your experiences and take, working through these obstacles and, beating the odds in so many things to helping others, do the same thing and really transform and improve their lives?
Well, I'm happy to share that. As you alluded to in that introduction, when I was a very young person, as a kid growing up, things were very difficult for me, and I was scared. I felt helpless. We had all kinds of chaos in the household, and I internalized a lot of that negativity, and that negativity manifested in some pretty predictable ways in my teen years. When things were kind of at a critical point, I was 18 years old when I attempted to kill myself, and I did so unsuccessfully. I somehow survived a large dose of painkillers and alcohol in a cheap hotel room by the interstate. After surviving that, I re-examined my life, where I was going, and reconnected with a girl that I had known who has now been my wife for almost 33 years. We started going to church. She took me, and it stuck, changed my life. And at that point, I decided that I wanted to help other people. I wanted to basically flip my life around from what it had been. And now, how did I approach helping people early on? Well, I joined the Army to get money for college. College, then law enforcement. That's how I was helping the world in my mind for a while. But I've always had that as an underlying objective of mine. I've always felt I was at my best when I was helping other people. And I always felt I was at my best when I was pursuing strength. And when I say that, I don't mean just in a physical context, but doing things that made me better, better as a friend, as a neighbor, as a parent, as a husband. And that has just been a constant for me. So as I got deeply involved in tactical training, I spent many years training law enforcement, corrections, military personnel. I wasn't just interested in the tactical methodologies. I was looking at things in a very holistic way. I studied a lot of disparate disciplines, looking at a lot of behavioral psychology, hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, a lot of the things I was exposed to through my martial arts training. I'm walking around with 3 different black belts and 3 different styles. So I was exposed to a lot of things. And the way that my brain works, I see how things connect. And it didn't matter what discipline I was in, I was finding ways to connect what I was learning and kind of enhancing what I was teaching other people. And post 9/11, I started moving into the private sector. I did a lot of work with the airline industry, did a lot of work with the Disney company, and some other large scale private sector companies that were looking to protect their operations from potential terrorist attack. You have to remember, post 9/11, that was very much on everyone's mind. So now I was working with what I would call regular people, and I was extracting a lot from my background that seemingly was very dangerous and scary, but I was using that information to affect positive change and generally through training in those early years. And that's really kind of carried over with me today. I got involved working with a lot of tactical operators in a training context, making them better, a lot of mental training and so forth. And that's what really sort of stoked my interest in coaching, because I was seeing the type of results I was getting with people who were already really operating at their very peak. People that can do amazing things already. And if I can do things to make them even better, imagine the margin for improvement on regular people. And that's really what sort of has propelled me up to this point. And it's tremendously rewarding for me. And even though a lot of the professional stops I've made along my way on my resume seem different, for me, they've all been very much connected, and they've all led very organically to the types of work that I do now.
Oh, without a doubt. And I would say probably makes you one of the most unique individuals that I've, come across, especially in the world of coaching, because there's absolutely nothing that can duplicate the experiences that you've had. And that's just a tremendous gift to be able to share that and let others benefit from that experience without having to be in the perilous situations that you've obviously put yourself into to achieve that.
Right.
So how can folks find out more about Mike Gillette and, what you're up to and your philosophies and really about how to begin, transforming in a way that you've put out there?
Great, Jack. The simplest way is to simply go to MikeGillette.com. And that is where people find out more about what I do via coaching. It also provides some links to some of the things that will just simply allow people to get more information about me. Whether it's articles I've written or videos on YouTube, that kind of thing. It's sort of the one-stop shop for all things relating to what Mike Gillette does. MikeGillette.com.
Fantastic, Mike. I got to say I certainly appreciate you coming on today and sharing this with folks. It's extremely powerful information, and it's what I feel makes you a true influencer with the lives that you've affected in so many ways. So thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks so much, Jack. It's been a real pleasure. All
right. Fantastic, folks. There you have it. Check it out, MikeGillette.com. It really is a remarkable story, and you'll see things that that you may not have thought possible really are achievable. So until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.